Well, it's time once again with that familiar theme song to go out to the other coast of the United States where Michael Snyder resides and reviews all the movies for us. Hello, Michael.
Hi, Alex. Greetings from Los Angeles. Hope everyone's doing well this weekend and had a nice July 4th. We've got some movies to review, so we should get right to it. An action-filled comedy. It's a great change of pace for the Marvel Cinematic Universe is upon us. I mean, we've had the seriousness of Black Panther and Avengers Infinity War, and now we have Ant-Man and the Wasp, the sequel to the film from a couple years ago, Ant-Man, that introduced the main character. And the last time we saw Scott Ant-Man Lang, played by the ever-adorable Paul Rudd, a thief turned shrinking and growing and ant-riding and insect-communicating superhero. He was in the middle of the Captain America Civil War fracas on the rebel side of the battle between Captain America and Iron Man and their respective super comrades in the Avengers. This is, again, a couple years later, and Scott is nearing the end of house arrest because he broke the government's superhero registration laws, and thus they've kind of restricted him. But he's also trying to be a good single father to his daughter, Cassie, co-parenting with his ex-wife and her new man. By the way, they're played by Judy Greer and Bobby Cannavale, and that's kind of like trying to swat a fly, not an ant, with a cannon, because two terrific comic actors, but when they're in their scenes together, they're wonderful. And meanwhile, Scott's reluctant mentor, Dr. Hank Pym, again played by Michael Douglas, and Pym's no-nonsense daughter, Hope, played by Evangeline Lilly, are on the run from the same restrictions that locked Scott up, but are trying to find Janet Van Dyne, who is Hope's mom and the superheroine known as the Wasp, because she's trapped in a subatomic quantum field where she disappeared decades ago while saving thousands from a runaway atomic missile alongside Hank, the original Ant-Man. So, yeah, very confusing. We find out, of course, eventually that Janet Van Dyne is played by the great Michelle Pfeiffer, and she's pretty wonderful in her few scenes here. But Hank and Hope need to recruit Scott, once in future Ant-Man again, to find Janet, deal with some tech thieves, and also deal with a tragic, superpowered young woman known as Ghost. And to that end, Hope is going to don a version of her mother's costume and become the new Wasp, adventuring side by side with Scott's latter-day Ant-Man. That sounds like a lot to unpack, but this is such a breezy, fun summer film, and most of the gags and jokes work. These movies are among the most amusing of these Marvel films, and the action scenes are a treat. They're treat after treat, actually, especially when it comes to Hope's endlessly creative use of the size-changing tech on herself and her Wasp identity and on inanimate objects. Her fight scenes are brilliantly choreographed and fiendishly clever in how she triumphs over the ruffians, of which there are a few in the conventional sense, led by the always creepy Walton Goggins as a black market tech dealer. He's the guy who wants to get his hands on Pym tech. The fly in the ointment is Ghost, played by British actress Hannah John Kamen, and Dr. Pym's estranged colleague Bill Foster, played by Lawrence Fishburne. Hey, I got to tell you, MCU fans, this is set before Avengers Infinity War. And like the first Ant-Man film, it is connected to the 10-year series of Marvel movies, but you don't need any knowledge of them other than maybe having seen the first Ant-Man to truly enjoy it. It's kind of like Black Panther, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Doctor Strange in that it's a standalone, and it works that way, but are also enhanced by having seen the other Marvel films. Canny marketing there, spectacular transmedia storytelling, but ultimately the idea is that Ant-Man and the Wasp is really good summer fun. Go in there with that expectation, and you'll have a great time. And, of course, please stay for the end credit sequences. You will be gobsmacked, as the British would say. Fireworks is a film that tells the story of a bunch of kids who live in a seaside Japanese town. It's an animated film, and it looks like anime, but it is lovely to look at. Specifically, the kids include a schoolgirl who's the object of affection for two boys who are in her class, but this girl's going to leave town by the fall because her mother is remarrying, and the kid is so upset by this since she's fond of one of the two boys and wants to stay, so she does the counterintuitive thing and decides she's going to run away from home. But not before she finds a pretty transparent ball in the shallows by the shore and it's the day of the fireworks display of a religious festival, and she wants to go with the boy she likes. And in any case, it turns out that the ball has magical powers to shift time and space, and that impacts these kids. People may want to compare fireworks to the 2016 Japanese animated feature Your Name, since they both concern metaphysical young romance. But Your Name, despite its wild concept of long-distance body switching, is masterful with the coherence and deep feeling that fireworks doesn't manage to evoke. That said, the three-dimensional settings in fireworks are gorgeous, but the character designs, especially the main kids with their exaggeratedly enlarged anime eyes, which is something not quite so emphasized in feature Japanese animation these days, it's a little disconcerting at first. But the movie means well. It's sweet, it's lovely, and only occasionally distracts from the story that nails the awkwardness and end-of-the-world turbulence of adolescent love. There's gentle beauty here at times, but it's also neither fish nor fowl. You know, they try for goofy antics, and they try for, family drama, and it ends up being a little lightweight, even with all the teen emotion and the whimsy and the time and dimension shifting. The director, Akiyuki Shinbo, and main writer Hitoshi One, this is okay. This is something that fans of the genre are going to like. Some kids may enjoy it, others may not. But I didn't think it was time wasted. Let's wrap up with Under the Tree, another foreign film. Sorry about that, but this is how it plays out sometimes. Under the Tree is right up my alley. It's an Icelandic combination of suburban domestic drama, social satire, and very dark humor. It's twisty and unsettling and very satisfying. Essentially, a man is accused of adultery and kicked out of his place by his furious wife. So this guy's a schlemiel, if you know what that means, who moves in with his parents and tries to get shared custody of his kindergarten-age daughter. But he's so frustrated, he begins making matters worse. And meanwhile, his parents, and dad's kind of bottled up, and mom's bent out of shape by less than ideal family circumstances, they're in an escalating feud with their next-door neighbors because their tree is casting a shadow over the neighbor's sun deck. It's the sort of minor thing that starts snowballing and becomes a recipe for disaster when things go very, very wrong in sudden bursts. The director, Hafstein Gunnar Sigurdsson, does a great job. The actors, none of whose names are pronounceable, let alone recognizable, they're all tremendous. The mother is just, she's bottled up to it, but her rage starts leaking through as she becomes infuriated by the neighbors. It was terrific, flat out. It was terrific. Under the Tree, highly recommended. Yes, there are subtitles, but I thought it was terrific. And you can probably find it in a streaming situation at some point soon. The first Purge, which is a prequel to the Purge series, also opens this weekend. It was scheduled to be screened against Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I called an audible. I made a decision. I missed it. Also, I hear great things about the indie comedy with a sci-fi twist. Sorry to bother you, but there were never any opportunities to catch it. I am going to catch up to that one. What are you watching, buddy?
Nothing much. It's summer. It's the summer doldrums. I think the only light in the summer doldrums, as always, is America's Got Talent, which I think is a terrific show and very, very entertaining. So,
really?
Yes.
Who's your favorite performer this year so far?
I don't have a favorite performer. I also watched the British version, which I like slightly better only because it has that British whimsy to it. But basically, America's Got Talent has just turned into this absolutely the greatest variety show on television.
Well, it is a juggernaut. There's an Australia's Got Talent. I guess many, many countries in the civilized world have.
But this was, in fact, the first one. The British one came. The Brits wouldn't pick the idea up, so he came to America, sold it to NBC, and then when it was a hit here, they launched Britain's Got Talent. So
you're talking about Simon Cowell, right?
Yep, that's right.
Well, there's your mastermind. Anyway, cool, great. I'll let you get down to business at GABNet and hopefully see people next week, or they'll hear from me. You can catch me on Twitter at Culture Blaster and on Facebook at Michael Snyder's Culture Blast page.
All right. Thank you very much, Michael. And as always, he'll be back again next week, and there's more GABNet coming right up. Stay where you are.